Bacteria, fungus, microbiome. BFM 89.9.
Hello and welcome to Front Row. I'm Juliet Jacobs. Canadian Rajah is a play that explores a forgotten chapter of Sarawak's history. So the production, led by director Sabira Sheikh, brings to life the poignant and complex relationship between Eska Brooke Dakin, the firstborn son of the second Rajah of Sarawak, and the formidable Rani Margaret. So joining me today are Sarah Shahrum, Malik Taufik and Isra Khalid. They're all cast members of the play. Together we want to find out more about what it's all about. We're also going to explore their experiences working on this historical drama and their reflections on the play's themes. Welcome everyone. How are you today?
Hello.
Hello.
And you as well? Very well. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for joining me today. So yes, what an interesting play. I don't think many of us know about this forgotten chapter or this long forgotten history. Let's talk a little bit about that. Can you tell me a little bit about what Canadian Rajah is all about?
Okay, so I'll just jump in.
Sure.
So as you mentioned, it was written by Canadian Dave Carley, who approached Sabira, I think it was during COVID days, and said, look, I've got the script, here's the story, what do you think? Are you interested? And she said, yes, I am interested. And the next thing she knew is she was given the whole script. Wow. And she ran with it, literally. So the play is about, it centers around a conversation or a meeting between Eska Brooke, who is the firstborn male of the second Rajah of Sarawak, Charles Brooke. Rani Margaret, doesn't realize this actually at the beginning. So she arranges for him to be removed from Sarawak. Yeah. I have to say Sarawak. Okay. To be removed from Sarawak. So, and in this play, in this meeting, because Eska Brooke in reality always did seek recognition that he was Charles Brooke's son, and this is a meeting. This play is all about him coming to see Rani Margaret to seek her acknowledgement that he does exist.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and maybe we can talk a little bit about what your initial thoughts, all of you, were when you read that script. What drew you to the project? Malik, you wanna take?
Oh yes. After reading the script, I fell in love with the words, and I also fell in love with the characters. I didn't really know much about the history of Sarawak and the Charles Brooke legacy, but this has really opened a lot of new insight to our own culture that we don't really know things about Borneo in that sense. Yeah, but it's really exciting. It's a lot of wit, a bit of dry humor, but I think there's also a point where there's a lot of drama happening. Yeah.
And you play which character? You want to just tell our listeners?
So I'll be playing Eska Brooke, also Eska's father.
Also
Archdeacon Dakin,
also Eska's friend. Also, basically he'll play four characters.
Four characters.
Yes.
Okay.
So
All right.
very tough job.
And how about for you, Isra? How did you feel? Tell me about the characters you play, and your thoughts when you read.
To ease the burden of Mali, I'll play one of his memories. I'll play the young Eska. Where he reflects on his past when he was younger. So yeah, about the script, I came across it because I'm in Sabira's class, so she gave it to us for just to have a read through. And as a history geek, I find it very appealing and interesting to know that we didn't know about this story. This is big actually, and supposed to be a story that should be told. And it is interesting when we unfold or unveil something that's hidden, some mysteries in our own history, in our own story, and it's very good that someone actually, but sadly not from our people, someone outside to dig in this story and have something important to be told to the world.
Okay. So
yeah, I hope it's clear.
yes, no, very much so. And how about for you, Sarah?
So in the main, I play Rani Margaret. Rani Margaret takes a journey from when she's all of a fresh teenager, 19 years old, not a fresh teenager, 19, so all of 19. And she uproots from England to go all the way to a land she's never heard of, but read about, and all she knows about the country is that it's in a hot and humid place, and there are headhunters and tigers, and that's it. So number one is I have great admiration for pioneers who did that. She marries a man who is 40 years older than her, and she goes abroad and she embraces the whole thing. Now, bear in mind, in those days, we're talking in Victorian England, society was much, had different societal views about relations between, Europeans and the natives, and everybody had their place. So there was such a class system already existing. So she's having to navigate her way through all that. So I have the greatest, like I said, I can't keep saying enough, I have the greatest admiration for her. And she had to deal with a situation whereby her children's place in the whole scheme of things was being threatened when she discovers the existence of a firstborn male heir. So she does what she can to remove that obstacle from her children.
Interesting. Okay. All right. And I mean, again, it must be quite interesting preparing for these roles since it's based on real life characters as well, right? And such, I guess, complex backgrounds. Would I be right in saying that? How did you approach preparing for such nuanced roles?
For me, to do Eska, because there's not much that's known about him, I did some research online, but most of it was working with Sabira and then going through the text and figuring what he is like from the text itself, and also his interactions with Renee, Margaret, and the people around him. Aside from that, we also did a lot of biomechanics, a lot of breathing workshops, just to be prepared, and then also to get into different characters. So we also put in more of the physicality of our characters as well.
Okay. And how about for you?
I did a lot of reading. I bought Rani Margaret's 2 biographies. The first one she wrote was actually quite dull and had to plod through it, but this was when her husband was still alive. So the second one, which is titled Good Morning and Good Night, that gave more insight into the kinds of things that she approached in her daily life and how difficult it was to deal and live with a man like Charles Brooke. Not just in Sarawak, but also when they were living abroad back in England. But she was an intellectual. She spoke fluent French and I think a couple of other languages. She played the piano, and she was just amazing. I just think she's quite cool. Now, of course, the things that she writes would be totally unacceptable.
Of course, yes.
Totally.
But written in the time that it was.
But of that time, yeah.
Okay. And how about for you, Isra? What was it like preparing for the role?
Well, I'm juggling with a daily job. It's a little bit hard, but we do a lot of fun things, but in a very controlled situation. Where fun, but not up to where we lost it all. And I work a lot with Malik to find the gestures, the mannerism of Eska, how he should be when he was younger and older. And the tough part for me is not to just creating, because we never know how he acts. Just like we place those historical figures which are not recorded, but to play him, to do what he do on stage, because I was the younger ones,
right.
So I have to be in one way the Eska, and the other way is to be Malik.
So clearly you guys have to work together a lot.
Yes, it's very clear. Yes.
And get all the, I guess, the mannerisms and the voice, everything kind of similar, right? Interesting. And of course, you guys also have a lot, there's a lot between the both of you, because there's a lot of, I guess, confrontational. So I'm imagining there will be a lot of sort of confrontational, quite emotional sort of like intensity between the two characters that you guys play, Malik and...
Yes, of course. That's a lot of fun.
That's the fun, because there's this... it's not just a frisson, because Eska is coming in and threatening a whole lifetime of her work.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, being the pioneering fighter woman that she is, she's not going to give up without a battle. And so it does become a sort of battle of wits. There's a lot of parrying. There's a lot of stabbing and thrusting and little sneaky digs. from
Very
Eska.
from Eska.
Never from Rani, of course, never.
English woman.
So it's, I guess it's a bit of a Malaysian story, but also quite global in that sense, right? How do you feel this story will resonate with our audiences, especially with this historical context?
Well, the themes are quite evergreen.
Yeah.
There's racial prejudice. There's the differences of social class and how it was seen at that time. You've also got people of economic status. If you're rich, you really can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And if you're poor, what's the struggle like, and what are your experience like?
I think also what struck me first was the narratives that everybody has. Everybody has their own narrative. Everybody has their own approach and reason and rationale as to why they do what they do, why they live how they live, and why they think what they live. And I feel they're quite justified. And I feel at this time and moment in our lives, at this point in in the history, it's so extreme. It's extremely extreme, and I think this sort of it feels a bit watered down. Actually, I feel that it's actually quite civilized.
Yes.
Compared to what's going on in the world at this point in time.
Okay. And I guess you guys are thick in rehearsal process now, right? Yeah, and you're working with Sabira, of course. How have those rehearsals been? What's it been like working together? And you've got one more cast member, am I correct?
Yes.
Amalina Arham.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, the rehearsal process was very interesting because the way that I have worked with other directors is very different to how Sabira approaches it. So I love it because it's actually, it's been a long time since I've explored new things about myself and how to work, not just from the head up, but physically as well. And allowing myself to be sort of loosey-goosey and just more relaxed with my whole body and using the stage presence. So that's been really, really interesting. It's great watching the boys and Amelina work. And who else is there? Yeah, so we've also got Melinda Louis coming in to do the costumes, and that's really helped. New things have come up during rehearsals with the costumes on.
Interesting.
Not just within my character, but also I think how I suddenly I say Eska. It's really interesting. Very interesting.
Somehow
It helps a lot. The costume.
It gives the character
It sort of
fills it up.
And
that
armors
presence,
it. Yeah.
right? And how has the rehearsals been for the both of you? For young and older?
It's very demanding, isn't it? She's very demanding in a good way because she's always like pushing us to the limit. Yeah, we've found the good way to tell, to present, but she's always like, why don't you try another one? Or why don't you try this way? And then we're just exploring day by day, even up until today. We're just trying new things and exploring things, better way to tell the story, to act and to react one another. It's a very challenging, and it crushes the best of us that we ourselves don't know that we have those things in ourselves. She made it
unearthed in terms of your.
Yeah, she made us do it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's been really fun.
It's fun.
I'm loving it because she allows you to experiment, but of course, she's also got a very good eye at what she wants out of the production, and also how she wants to feel when she's watching it. And I think that's really great because then you've got that third eye that's looking at the peaks and valleys of the production, so the audience doesn't fall asleep and the actors don't get bored of their lines. So she's always trying to find new ways of telling the truth and letting the characters tell the truth.
Nice.
Yeah, I totally agree on that one. And sometimes often I should say, when Sabira says, well, tell me why you're doing this, and you sort of go, well, I'm doing this because of that, and she goes, well, have you considered this other? And you go, oh.
Right.
Or why don't you look at it that way? I mean, literally look to your right instead of the left, because Oh.
Yeah, so even in our body movements, the nuances,
Yeah.
our physical nuances,
details.
Yeah.
that's
Because there's often times when Malik and I, in the beginnings, when we first started rehearsals without Isra, he came in a bit later, right? We leave the rehearsals going, oh my God, I learned a new thing today. Remember?
Yes.
We do that so often.
Yes, yeah, because it was very physical. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. And I guess, for anyone who's coming, I mean, any particular moment from the play that you want to share, anything that you think is really impactful or, really is, like will leave a lasting impact on the audience, anything at all. A favorite scene perhaps from the play?
My favorite scene is when I become the Archdeacon Dakin,
Oh, yes.
Eska's father, Eska's adopted father, and he's just really angry, and I think the audience will love him.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Get to
So a
explore
character,
another
yeah.
side, of Malik's acting, And for you, Sarah?
I'm hoping that the audience will see how Margaret transformed or evolved from a young 19-year-old. She was quite headstrong, but a strong-headed 19-year-old. By this stage she would be in her 60s and 70s when she meets Eska for the first time after a long while, and to see how she gets from the 19-year-old to her in her twilight years, so to speak.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And there's no such like villain or hero in this show. Like, I mean, it's very nuanced, right? All the characters that we're going to
Yeah, and this is where I think it's important where the narrative comes from. Why people behave the way they do, why they say the things they say.
And that will probably be determined by the audience themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be
Yeah.
interesting.
And it's a never-ending problems of humanity, isn't it?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
conflicts, the ego thing, the battling of what you think you should have, recognition about stating your place in the world.
Yeah, or your motivations for your
Yep.
actions, I mean, probably came from a very good place, but, ended up not being, so many things, it's nuance, there's no black and white. Any favorite scene for you, Isra, that you want to share, that you're quite excited about?
Well, the whole act 2 is interesting actually to see them both quarreling in a very classy manner.
Quarreling. I say.
But for
Witty
me,
repartee.
but I think that the moment of realization of Eska when he knows that he's adopted.
Don't tell the whole story.
He already said it.
No, spoiler alert. Okay, I
okay.
beg your pardon.
There's a lot of interesting points in the story that you should watch, and you must watch. I say, you people of Malaysia especially. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting roller coaster ride for the whole an hour plus.
Hour plus. Okay. All right. So there's a lot. I mean, that's quite short actually for so much that we're okay. Excellent. So it's happening. It's going to be staged from the 24th to the 27th of October. It's over at DPAC, which is the Damansara Performing Arts Centre. The shows from the 24th to the 26th are at 8 p.m. and tickets are priced at 105 ringgit per person. But the matinee show on Sunday the 27th at 3 p.m. that is priced at 80 ringgit, and you can purchase all of your tickets at cloudjoy.com. That's cloudjoi.com. Guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Any
Thank you.
concluding
Thank you.
message? Anything you'd like to leave our listeners with before I let you go? Isra, you want to go first? Yeah.
Come and enjoy the story of the untold history of Sarawak, and it's an interesting story about humanity that you should and that you can bring something back to ponder before you go to sleep.
Okay. Thank you, Isra. And how about for you, Sarah?
I'll echo what Isra said, but also I think it's quite a good historical show, but still with current day context, meaning and understanding. I don't want to make it sound too heavy, but you can apply from then to today. And yes, come and enjoy the show.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. And Malik?
Oh yes, if you like history, if you like to be entertained, and if you have nothing to do from Thursday to Sunday, come and watch.
Thank you so much, Juliet.
Thank
It's
you
been
so
good fun.
much.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I was speaking to Sarah Sharul, Malik Taufik, and Isra Khalid, all cast members from Canadian Rajah, presented by Masakini Theatre Company. So again, those dates, 24th to the 27th of October, head to cloudjoy.com right now. now and get your tickets. But if you miss any part of our conversation today, you can always search for the podcast at bfm.my/front-row. You can also find it on the BFM app. This has been Front Row, BFM 89.9.
How much